All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I will be looking up my screen periodically to admit people who are just coming into the waiting room. So you'll be seeing me doing that occasionally. So again, my name is Brendan Park. Thank you for being here. As a writing specialist with the Scholarship Opportunities Program, I get to advise high-achieving undergraduates like yourselves to apply for prestigious national and international awards. We'll have some time to talk about that here shortly, and also some other services that are available to all of you as undergraduates at UCI. But before I talk about Scholarship Opportunities Program and the services that we provide, I also wanted to alert you to a really valuable resource on campus for you, the International Student Excellence Programs, or ISEP. It's a wonderful resource for international students and a great opportunity for all of you to get involved. And I'm joined today by Dr. Se-Young Lee, ISEP's Counselor Coordinator, and Stephanie Tran, who's the Program Coordinator for the International Peer Group Scholars Program. So I'm going to hand it over to them to present some of their slides.
Thank you, Brendan. Well, good Wednesday evening and good Thursday morning to our student audience. It's great to have you here with us. Like Brendan said, my name is Stephanie and I am the program coordinator for IPG. IPG is the signature program within International Student Excellence Programs. And just like Scholarship Opportunities Programs, ISEP is part of the Division of Undergraduate Education, which means we proudly serve and support all of UCI's international undergraduates. And our aim with our programming is to develop global scholars and leaders. So just a few of our highlights. ISEP has 2 peer mentoring programs. IPG, which many of you might know, is for first-year students to help them transition to academic and student life at UCI and life in the US. And we also offer Global Leaders Program, which is aimed at 2nd through 5th year students who are interested in developing their research literacies, and they do that through collaborative projects. ISEP also offers bi-weekly skill building workshops. We facilitate interactions between students and faculty and students and alumni. And we also offer one-on-one personal guidance and success coaching, and that is through my colleague Se, the Counselor Coordinator for ISEP. And I wanted to invite all of you to a special event. It's happening next week, week 7 on Thursday. It is our International Alumni Panel and Networking event. We have 6 international UC alumni who will be joining us, and they're excited to chat about their educational experiences and their current jobs and professions in the US. And I believe if you're interested, we are going to put the registration link in the chat box for you. Thank you, Se.
Let's see.
And before I go, I just wanted to encourage students to really, oh, that's right, Brendan, it's the next slide.
Oh yeah, do you want me to copy this one?
If you could show the slide with Se.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I wanted to encourage everyone to take good advantage of the services offered by Se, my colleague. Her appointments, providing guidance and coaching, they are free and they are available to all international undergrads. And I think you'll find it's really personalized to you. So you can meet with Se one time, or you could arrange to meet with her multiple times, but I think you'll find her to be a really great resource for your time at UCI and even beyond if you're thinking about graduate school. She's got her email in the chat box. She's also on WeChat. You're welcome to reach out to her that way. And on our website, you'll see that she has an appointment link, and you'll also see our events calendar. So on behalf of Se and myself and all of our ISEP student leaders, we thank you for your time today, and we look forward to connecting with you.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you, Brendan.
All right. So the Scholarship Opportunities Program, I briefly want to ask all of you to let me know in the chat, what year are you? Are you first year, second year, third year? I'm interested to get a poll of who's here tonight. So we've got a third year, first year, fourth year. All right, a couple first years. Okay, so we're pretty much some second years. So we're pretty much, we've got a lot of everybody here tonight. That's great. Sometimes we have a lot of first and second year students. Often we don't have as many third and fourth year, but we have opportunities for everybody. So it's good to know where you are in your time at UCI. And depending on how long you've been at UCI, there might be different resources that are valuable to you. So a few of those that I want you to be aware of. The first resource that's available to everyone from the very moment they're accepted to UCI is the Office of Financial Aid. The Scholarship Opportunities Program is not the Office of Financial Aid. We're sometimes confused with them. The Office of Financial Aid handles awards that are either or financial aid that's either federally funded or awards that are provided through UCI funding. So that is a very good resource to know for awards and local scholarships that are available in February. Hopefully all of you have been to the Writing Center at some point. I used to work as a writing specialist at the Writing Center before I started doing advising with Scholarship Opportunities Program. I worked for a while as a lecturer in academic English and composition and taught creative writing and had a lot of great opportunities to work with students. And the Writing Center is a place where I really got to work with students one-on-one in a way I didn't always get to work with them when I was teaching as a lecturer. And I really loved that, and I think that it's an amazing resource for students. And you can't just use the Writing Center for papers and things like that. You can go to them also with your application materials if you're applying for jobs, schools. You can go to them at any point in your writing process. You don't have to bring a draft. You can go into the Writing Center if you just want to outline and brainstorm, work on things like that. There are a lot of excellent specialists there that can help you throughout your time at UCI, all the way up until you're applying for graduate school. So please take advantage of them. And finally, for our Scholarship Opportunities Program, we work with students beginning in their second year through their first year after graduation. And the awards that we advise students for are not need-based, so they do not take financial need into consideration. We only advise for what are called merit-based scholarships. So they're for high-achieving students, and these awards cover research, public service, and graduate school. Those are kind of the three main categories that we cover. A little bit on our roles and our services. So outreach, we promote these 21 different awards that we advise for through events like this. We also publish press releases for recent winners. We recently had a winner for the Marshall Scholarship, which is one of the biggest merit scholarships in the world. It's in the UK. We provide recognition in terms of an annual ceremony every year, but most of what we do is advising for these awards. And advising is a long process if you're applying for one of these awards. For our spring awards, it's a 6-month process, and for our fall awards, it's a 4-month process. And we work with students from beginning to end on their application strategies. We give feedback on personal statements, essay materials, application materials. For awards that require UCI endorsement, so awards that ask for basically UCI approval for you to apply for the award, we facilitate that process and bring faculty together for interviews to interview students. We conduct mock interviews to help students prepare when they've been selected as finalists. And we also write endorsements. So if you apply for one of these awards, one great thing about them is that in addition to your letters of recommendation, you get kind of a fourth letter of recommendation from the university itself, talking about how great you are. And that's something that we write and we do. We also make available past winning applications to our advisees, which is a wonderful resource to understand what makes for a strong scholarship application strategy. The awards that we advise for, here you can see our two different timelines. So beginning in spring quarter, coming up very soon, we advise for what we call our Trailblazers 10 awards. Most of these awards are graduate awards. So they're awards for students who are going to graduate school or on a Fulbright grant. And then in the fall application cycle, we have what we call our Explorers 11 awards. And these awards fund both graduate school and there's some undergraduate opportunities in that cycle as well. We're just coming to the end of the Explorers 11. You can see our column on the left kind of breaks down these different awards in terms of what type of award they are. If it's a research award, if it's for service and leadership, if it's an internship, or if it's an award that funds study abroad. So I have highlighted in green for you here tonight some of the awards that we're going to talk about, because these are the awards that international students are eligible to apply for. So it's definitely not all of our 21 awards, but as recently as 6 years ago, SOP actually did not advise for any awards that international students were eligible to apply for, with the exception of Strauss. So it's great that we have all these opportunities, and I'm excited to share them with you. A little bit about our advising process. We break it down with this chart here into different phases. So at the beginning of your process, when you don't really know much about your awards, we have what we call our exploration phase. And that's where candidates will do pre-writing activities, journal activities, to learn insights about the scholarship and themselves and develop application strategies. Then we move into what we call mapping, and that's where you're learning a lot more about the awards themselves and finding out how to match your interests with the award profile and what they're looking for, what they're looking to select in a candidate. Trailblazing is what we call it when you actually begin your drafting process with us and start writing those essays and those application materials and receiving feedback. Later in the process, in the summer for our spring awards, we have endorsement interviews where you go before faculty committees, show what you've learned, get feedback on those applications, and then we end with the actual scholarship submission at the end of the season. And this process, you know, we really want to emphasize that not everybody wins these awards. These are very competitive, they're prestigious, and it's not just about winning, it's also about your personal development and learning grant writing skills, gaining close relationships with your faculty, with your mentors, and putting those skills into practice that even if you don't win an award, will help you in your academic experience and your professional development. We have many students every year who do not win an award, but who, in working with Scholarship Opportunities Program, develop strategies for their application materials for graduate school that they are very happy to employ and end up getting into top graduate programs. So it's a very valuable experience that's not just based on winning all of these prestigious awards. Those processes that I just talked about in terms of the exploration phase and the mapping phase, this is a little more detailed about what you do. And we do this through something that we call SOP-PREP. This is a Canvas course that we have where students who are interested in applying for these awards begin the process. It's open enrollment and it's open entry. As long as you're a sophomore and have a 3.0 GPA, you can enroll in PREP course today. I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. But during the SOP-PREP course, you will write journal entries and receive feedback on your entries from one of our highly experienced student advisors on these awards. And at the end of your experience, you'll take what's, you can see number 5 here, we have what we call a virtual advisor quiz. And that will essentially take your, you'll put into that quiz your interests, your major, things like that, and it will kind of give you a list of the awards that we support that are a good fit for you. And then at the end of that, you'll have a personalized Zoom meeting with a student advisor and start thinking about which awards you want to apply for. And at that point, you'll have access to what we call our pre-application, where you can officially begin the application process. So important dates to keep in mind for the pre-application upcoming are, let's see if I've got it right, April 12th is when our pre-application closes this time around. So to be eligible for our spring awards, which we'll talk about, you have to submit the pre-application by April 12th. I will show you briefly how to enroll in PrEP. So many of you may find things through a simple Google search. Easiest way to find our website, if you don't already have it bookmarked, is just to Google UCI SOP. Here we are. If you do want to bookmark us, we're scholars.uci.edu. And then if you come right here to our advising section and click on that, you can scroll down just a little bit. And right here, we have everything you need to know about our PrEP course. So it is a Canvas course, but it is not linked to UCI Canvas. It is a separate free for teachers Canvas account. So it's independent. And so it is not in any way linked to your UCI Net ID. So you'll have to register through the process we have outlined here. Once you click on this link, you'll be brought to a login page right there. And if you have any questions about that, you can send an email to the resource that I'll give you at the end of the presentation. All right. So again, that is available to you year-round. You can open enroll right after this workshop if you want, if you're eligible, as long as you're a sophomore or higher standing with a GPA of at least 3.0. Okay. So in terms of formulas for winning, so students will often ask, what is a great formula for winning? We don't have a checklist that will help you win one of these awards, but we do see a lot of things that are common among our winners. This list gives some personal attributes we frequently see in our winners. So one I really want to emphasize is resilience and flexibility. So we have somebody who is a Fulbright semifinalist right now, who's in their 3rd application with us, and didn't win awards for the first ones, and has put a tremendous amount of work in, and maybe didn't see results at first, but took that as a learning experience to learn how to improve grant writing skills and become a more competitive applicant and develop closer relationships with faculty. So that's something we see a lot, is learning from your setbacks and being willing to grow from them is something we see in successful candidates a lot. Knowing your own story and appreciating it, not trying to be anybody but who you are, but knowing how to tell what makes you unique. That's something we see a lot as well. Briefly, why these awards matter. Obviously, it's money, and that's very useful to a lot of us. It's prestige and recognition. It's wonderful to put on your resume, and having one of these awards does open doors in terms of being impressive to graduate schools and jobs later on. But more importantly, as we mentioned, it helps you to understand and clarify your own academic goals, prepares you for graduate school applications, and it also actually has to do with UCI's reputation. So UCI's national ranking is actually linked to 4 of these different awards. So how UCI does in these affects not only us personally, but also the institution's national ranking. All right. And with that, we're going to talk about some case studies. So some of our student winners of these awards. As you look at these case studies, I want you to remember that a lot of these applicants came to us not knowing that they're competitive applicants, not being as accomplished as we see them here, looking back on them, and having a lot of questions in the process. So a lot of them came to us knowing nothing about how to apply for prestigious awards or be competitive for them. So our first student that I want to highlight was named Bhavesh Patel. So he was a major in biological sciences. He was on the pre-med track. He was interested in becoming a doctor. And he did research on FDA approvals and informed consent in emergency medicine. And he also was involved with the UCI Flying Samaritans and served as a peer health educator. So we see a lot of times that students that do well in these awards will be very involved in UCI clubs and services and things like that. And he also, every summer, he went home to where his parents were from in a small village in India. And he worked as a volunteer at a local clinic there. And so Bhavesh asked the people who ran the clinic, he said, do you have any services that you want to provide for people, or any problems in the community that you aren't able to meet? And what they told him is that they had a major problem with smoking, and with young people as young as like 9 and 10, smoking, and they had a major public health issue with tobacco. And so Bhavesh, what he did was he came up with an idea for a service project, bringing together volunteers and students from the local high school to educate the community on smoking awareness and prevention and the hazards of tobacco. And it was something that he got local leaders at the school involved in. It improved the community, and it also was a valuable service and leadership experience for the students themselves in the community. And later on, that project continued after Bhavesh left, and also served as a model for neighboring schools in the region that adopted that program as a pilot and did that as well. So what we see with Bhavesh is what we see with a lot of successful students, is that they don't just get involved in an organization. They take leadership in the organization that they are involved in, and they look for opportunities to expand services and improve services in meaningful ways. So this project that Bhavesh did was funded through one of the scholarships that's available to international students that we support, and that is the Strauss Scholarship. So I love the Strauss Scholarship because it's available for sophomores and juniors. We don't have too many awards that are. And also because it's very flexible. It's open to any major, any background, so long as you're committed to public service and leadership or environmental interest in some way. The Strauss Scholarship provides $15,000, and $8,000 of that will go directly to the funding of your community service project itself, which you'll carry out over the course of a year. And $7,000 of it will go directly to you for your fees and tuition and personal expenses associated with university life that you have. It's a wonderful opportunity. It's one of our Explorers 11 Fall Awards. So we just had our final submissions for Strauss this week, actually. But if you're interested in it, and this coming fall, if will be a sophomore or a junior in the coming fall, you'll be eligible to apply for the Strauss Award. I'm going to briefly check the chat. We will have time for some questions and answers at the end, but I see that a few people have put something into the chat. Let's see. Okay. All right, I see that Say answered those. So that's a little bit on the Strauss Award. Our next applicant profile I want to highlight is from Cassie Zhang. So Cassie was our very first international student to become a finalist in a prestigious international scholarship competition. So she was invited to interview for the Schwarzman Scholars Program at their campus at Peking University in Beijing, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. It's a highly prestigious university in China. So as an alternate, Cassie did not win the scholarship, but become a winner if somebody declined the award or more funding became available. So most awards have winners, alternates who do get to go. Every year there are some alternates who get to win the award due to somebody having to decline. And then there are finalists, semifinalists, and people who don't place. So she made it very, very far in this competition. It was very close. So Cassie was a double major in economics and international studies. She was very, very involved in student organizations and student life. She was a peer academic advisor in the School of Social Sciences, and she worked as an intern for 2 years at the International Center. And in the same way that Bhavesh, who we saw, found ways to improve his volunteer experience at the clinic where he volunteered, Cassie did that in her involvements on campus. So at the International Center, she helped to create the International Leadership Program and the International DOTS program. So she showed a lot of leadership on behalf of her own international student cohort while she was here at UCI, which was very impressive to Schwarzman and her graduate school applications. She also studied global business in Hong Kong, and she did research at UCI. She researched Hong Kong and did research on China's one-child policy. So if you aren't involved in research already, I highly recommend getting involved, looking for opportunities to do what's called a 199, an independent research project with a professor, or to go to Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program, or UROP, and you can get involved in UCI-funded undergraduate research. It's a great way to build your resume, get to know faculty, mentors, and get involved in the research culture at UCI, which is what this university is really about. So that's a little bit on Cassie, and Cassie wants to start a business eventually to help Chinese students prepare to study abroad. So a little bit more on the scholarship that Cassie was an alternate for, the Schwarzman Scholars Program. So the Schwarzman Scholars Program, as I mentioned, is at Peking University. It's a one-year graduate program. It is a master's program in global affairs. So it's for students who broadly are interested in areas such as business, policy, international studies, and who are interested in getting a better understanding of China's role in global trends and China's influence around the world. So it's created by Stephen Schwarzman, who some of you may know as the famous founder and CEO of the Blackstone Group. So Stephen Schwarzman helped create this program. So it selects up to 200 scholars every year from around the world. 20% are from China, 40% are from the United States, and 40% are from the rest of the world. If you are an international student applying for Schwarzman Scholars and you have a passport to mainland China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, or Macau, then I do need to mention that the application process is earlier than it is for US applicants or other applicants around the world. So if you're interested in applying to Schwarzman and you do have a passport from one of those countries, your pre-application to Scholarship Opportunities Program will be due March 12th. So it's an earlier pre-application deadline than the one I mentioned for the other awards, which will be on April 12th. Okay. So the Schwarzman Scholars Program is one of the abroad scholarships that are available for international students to apply for. For all the awards that you see up here, students can apply beginning in the spring of their junior year. They can apply during their spring of senior year, or spring 1 year after they graduate. So we will work with students at all levels there. So if you are applying during your junior year, so if you're a junior right now and you graduate in 2022, then you would be applying for the beginning of the 2022 academic year to do any of these awards. So that's something to keep in mind with your application. For these awards, the application process begins in April, ends in the fall, and then you're actually notified whether or not you win in January through April of the following year. So if you apply as a senior to one of these awards, then that means that you are planning on taking a gap year to do something else before you actually would win one of these awards. We talked about the Schwarzman program over there on the right. Two other very popular awards, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, are the Rhodes Scholarship and the Gates-Cambridge Scholarship. So the Rhodes Scholarship is exclusive to Oxford University in the UK. So it is one of the, probably the most prestigious international scholarship in the world. It's definitely the most famous one, and it is an award that many of these others have kind of modeled themselves off of. So it's one that has a very, very high reputation. And students who apply for the Rhodes Scholarship can apply in pretty much any discipline at Oxford for graduate study, or in some cases for a second bachelor's degree there. The Oxford is one of the few scholarships that does have a GPA minimum in order to apply for the Rhodes Scholarship. It's, I believe, a 3.7 minimum GPA. And it is generally, we see applicants to the Rhodes who have a 4.0 and who are involved in research and leadership, very high degree leader of leadership on campus. So the one winner that we have for the Rhodes in the last 10 years was a candidate named Megan Braun. So she was very involved in her research. She was a history major. She was also very, very involved in leadership. She was the president of ASUCI for 2 years. I believe she was the captain of the water polo team. She definitely played goalie for water polo. And she's interested in international law and just war theory. And currently, if you have kept up on her or heard about her in UCI News, she graduated from Yale Law School, and she's currently a clerk for Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts, and she was actually the only clerk who went to Trump's first impeachment trial with John Roberts a year ago, and she served as his clerk for the impeachment trial. So that's kind of the level of leadership ambition that Rhodes is looking for, and the level of leadership on campus. Gates-Cambridge, many of you have maybe heard of this award, but I'm sure you've definitely heard of Bill Gates, of the Bill Gates philanthropic organization. So this award is specific to Cambridge University, and it's funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So they're very interested in top scholars in every discipline and every graduate cohort at Cambridge, but particularly people who want to who have civic virtues and want to change the world to make it a better place, and who are interested in social justice. So that is really the values for all of these awards. They expect a high degree of scholarship and a very, very strong leadership profile. And I believe our last case study for the night is Mohammed Abedi. So Mohammed was from the United Arab Emirates, and he was born to Palestinian refugee parents, and he had seen his family and known about his family having difficult experience in refugee camps, and that really inspired him to want to go into healthcare, and he thought initially that he would be a medical doctor. So his family immigrated to the United States, and he started his college career at one of our local community colleges at Irvine Valley College, and was involved in research there, and really came to discover that he wasn't interested in becoming a doctor, but he was very interested in medicine and health, but through engineering. So he majored in biomedical engineering, and he did all kinds of really amazing research projects. One of them, he wanted to build air-powered computers for use in health and diagnostic services in the developing world, in places where they didn't have resources. He was recognized in 2013 by Barack Obama, who launched a multi-million-dollar brain initiative research award. And Obama actually spoke at the 2014 UCI graduation, and Muhammad Abedi was honored there by President Barack Obama. So Muhammad won 2 major awards, one of which is only available to US applicants, the National Science Foundation Award. And then the other award that he won was the Soros Fellowship for New Americans. And we'll talk a little bit about Soros. It's kind of an in-between award on eligibility. So for Soros, people who are eligible for Soros include what they call new Americans. So for Soros applicants, if you are a new or first generation American, meaning you're a US citizen, permanent resident, or DACA recipient. And the main requirement for Soros is that both of your parents have been born outside of the United States as non-US citizens. So the Scholarship Opportunities Program has worked with several international students over the years who, during their time at UCI, have moved into a different citizenship status or received permanent resident status and become eligible for this award. So it's something to keep in mind. Knight Hennessy Scholars is specific to Stanford University, and it funds graduate cohorts in all disciplines at Stanford. And both of these awards are unique because they're some of the only awards we support that fund any kind of degree. So people who want to go into medicine, or people who want to get an MBA, or people who want to go to law school often find that there aren't many scholarships available for them. I think that maybe there's an assumption out there that once people become a doctor or a lawyer or a high-powered business person that they'll be making enough money to pay back their student loans. But these are 2 scholarships that fund professional degrees like law and medicine and business. So the Paul and Daisy Soros is for any graduate program in the United States. Knight Hennessy is specific to Stanford. Knight refers to Phil Knight, which some of you may know is the founder of Nike. He was a Stanford alum. Hennessy is John Hennessy, one of the former presidents of Stanford. So they got together, and I think Phil Knight provided something like $500 million to begin this project. And they really want to create one of the most prestigious scholarships in the world. And they basically, their leadership profile, they say their ideal applicant is a young Barack Obama or a young Cory Booker. So again, they're looking for change makers. They're looking for people who are interested in social justice, people who are very active in leadership and service, in addition to being great scholars. These are our 2 most competitive awards. Just for a little bit of context, both of them hover around 1% for acceptance. I believe the most recent Knight Hennessy application cohort was over 6,000 applicants for about 150 awards or something along those lines. Other opportunities. This is another one where I want to go back to our website. So scholarship opportunities here, if you are on our website and you go to the scholarships tab, and then you scroll down here and you go over to other opportunities, the other opportunities lists tons of different scholarships that students can apply for on their own. They're not funded through UCI, but our staff has researched and vetted these awards as legitimate, great opportunities. These are chiefly for US students, but we also have a separate section here, other opportunities for international and AB 540 students. So if you click on that, you'll find a host of different awards that are available for you guys to apply for on your own. So if you don't see awards that I've talked about tonight that interest you, but you still want to apply for a scholarship and get some money through external funding, I highly recommend consulting this list. And again, remember that not only can you apply for it on your own, you can apply and get some feedback on your writing from the Writing Center staff. So I want you to be aware of those opportunities as well. Briefly, I've mentioned this a little bit, but just to re-emphasize, if you apply for a lot of these awards, you'll find that your application components are very similar to the application components that you will have to submit for graduate school. So you'll have a project or a study proposal. Those are generally 2 to 3 single-spaced pages. A personal statement, which many people have never written before. It's usually 1 single-spaced page, and it's kind of a challenge to tell your story and also make yourself an appealing applicant and be professional and stand out as an individual in a stack of 1,000 applications, all in the space of 1 page. So that's it's great to get some coaching on personal statements. Letters of recommendation, which we collect for everything. You'll likely, if you apply for these awards we advise for, you'll probably have some of the same recommenders that you'll have for graduate school, if not the exact same ones. CVs, resumes, we give feedback on that, application forms, and transcripts. I really want to emphasize, I've mentioned it a few times, but those letters of recommendation. So a lot of you here tonight are first years and second years, also some third and fourth. If you are a first year or second year, really be thinking about developing relationships with your faculty, because getting into these programs, good graduate programs, your letters of recommendation matter. And you really want letters of recommendation from somebody who has seen you in your upper division coursework or your research, and somebody who really knows you personally and can speak not to just your in-class performance, but to what makes you unique, what makes you stand out. And you really have to work at cultivating those relationships. It's not easy to do sometimes, especially for international students when we're shy sometimes about language barriers or things like that. But I really encourage you even now to email your faculty and ask about meeting them via Zoom. After the pandemic is over, go and knock on those doors, meet your faculty, talk to them, get to know them. It might be uncomfortable at first, but it's just very, very important to start forming those relationships. I think I have a couple questions in the chat about that. Okay. All right. So do keep that in mind. Proposal essays, again, we give feedback on all sorts of essays. I'm a creative writer. I actually got my graduate degree at UC Irvine in creative writing. So did my fellow scholarship advisor, Courtney Santos. So we understand writing in different genres, right? We understand what makes a good proposal in terms of your research statement, whether or not you've made your research stand out as original and novel, whether you have a well-organized literature review for your research, have addressed your outcomes feasibly. But really, again, we're not specialists in every discipline. So I think that, again, that is going to require you to have some good relationships with your faculty mentors on those. We give extensive feedback on those and personal statements as well. If you're not used to writing a personal statement, you can think of it a little bit like a professional cover letter for a job almost. It's difficult to distinguish yourself, but you also want to rely on examples and anecdotes, not having general claims. And you really want to show reflection, that you can show honest self-reflection about your goals, your strengths, your values, and that you can really show confidence in learning to tell your own story succinctly and what makes you stand out as an applicant. It's one of the details, one of the application components that every application gets just about the most revision. A lot of times goes into personal statements. And finally, I want to give you a little bit of a checklist. I can't give you a checklist on how to win, But just to review some of the things that you should be doing regardless of whether you apply for one of these awards. I think I've mentioned about 100 times by now, really get to know your faculty. Look for opportunities to do research through 199, independent research with faculty through UROP, or SERP, which is the Summer Undergraduate Opportunities Program. If you're interested in studying abroad, take that opportunity. It might seem strange as an international student to come to the United States only to leave and go to yet another country to study abroad, but students do it every year, and it can open up new doors and new opportunities for you. Internships and community service, please get involved with those. ISEP, all of these things, get involved on campus, and look to seek leadership opportunities. If you are invited to a reputable honor society, check to see if they have a UCI chapter, to see if they're reputable or not. And be aware of, in particular, Phi Beta Kappa. So Phi Beta Kappa is a honor society that you can't apply for. It's one that you must be nominated for by your own school. So nominations happen in spring every year. Some juniors are nominated for Phi Beta Kappa every year, and then more seniors. I believe it's only the top 1% of juniors who generally get invited, and somewhere roughly around the top 3% of seniors. But it's not just GPA, it's also your leadership within your department, and your other contributions to the UCI campus that people take into consideration when nominating you for Phi Beta Kappa. So some Phi Beta Kappa people you've probably heard of, our president, our Chancellor Gilman, President Bill Clinton, plenty of other people. So it is very reputable. It opens a lot of doors. It comes with a lifelong network of other members. And so if you get invited to PBK, to Phi Beta Kappa, do join. It's one to be aware of. Brief recap of our services. We advise for candidates. We give draft feedback. We maintain past winning applications for students to read and analyze when they're applying for the same award. We hold mock interviews to help students practice for interviews when they're granted one for a scholarship that we advise for. We evaluate applications, select endorsed candidates, and write those endorsements on your behalf. And a little bit more about us and where you can find us, that is our information there. So I've come to just about 10 till the hour, which is where I like to open it up to all of you. If you have any questions, you can unmute and just ask out loud, or you're welcome to ask in the chat if you have questions that I haven't covered yet. I'll give, sometimes people like to type, and it can take a little bit slower, so I'll give people a little bit of time if they have any other questions.
Hi. I have a question. Since my situation is a little complicated, can I talk to you like after the meeting ends? Because I'm a fourth-year student at UCI and I'm double major with one minor. I have already got offer from Johns Hopkins of Public Health for my master program. So
Congratulations.
I want to. They already give me like to cover 75% of my second year of like master program, but I want to apply for more scholarship to cover like the rest of my tuition, but I don't know if it's enough time for me to do that.
Yeah, so we actually we work with, if you have accepted to a graduate program, you would actually go through advising through a graduate program, our graduate fellowship advisor. So the Graduate Resource Center at UCI has the graduate fellowship advisor who would be able to answer questions about that. But we generally advise for students who are applying to the scholarship and to graduate school at the same time. So we generally work with students who are in the process of applying to graduate school at the same time they're applying for these awards.
Okay.
But I would check with, I'm forgetting her name at the moment, her last name. Her first name is Kaylee. But if you look up fellowships, fellowship advising at UCI with the Graduate Resource Center, I would ask her about that.
Could you answer me back in the chat with her email so I can email her to ask for the questions?
If you can send me, and I'll put my email in the chat, and you can email me, and I will send it to you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And anyone else who has follow-up questions?
Brendan, I can read the questions to you if you'd like in the chat box.
Sure.
There are two about being first years. One is if there are any opportunities for first years to apply to scholarships. And the other one is if you are a first year, does that mean that they should wait until next year for SOP-PREP?
Yeah, so SOP-PREP, you have to be a sophomore to join. So yes, do wait for SOP-PREP until you're a sophomore. And if you're a first year right now and you're interested in scholarships, I would go to the financial aid website. So they usually do have some UCI awards that are merit-based that you can apply for in February. So that's the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships. So I would check them for things you can apply for now, and also that list of other opportunities that I mentioned on the showed you on the website. And then starting as soon as you're a sophomore, as long as you have a 3.0, then you can join SOP-PREP and start working with us.
There's a question from Shanali. What is your advice for creating relationships with faculty?
Well, I think that, asking to see them during office hours and being interested in the material, having questions, right? Going beyond what you're just learning in class and showing that you're interested to learn more, that you have questions that go beyond just the material in class. And it's also really knowing a little bit about their own research and their research interests, right? So if you get involved in research or classes or labs with somebody when you're an upperclassman in your junior, senior year, you want to be strategic about the faculty that you take classes with. You want them to be someone whose research or whose career you admire, who you think you have something special to learn from. Yeah, and I think that it just comes with, and in class, if you have an opportunity to be active in class discussion, it's very difficult sometimes to do. Take those opportunities as well, and really take advantage of office hours. Yeah. And so again, I think I had another question on SOP-PREP. You can enroll as long as you are a sophomore at UCI and you have a 3.0 GPA. And one thing I want to mention about your class year, some people get confused on what year they are, if they're a sophomore or a junior, because people have so many units at UCI, especially if you're double majoring. So for these awards, they define your year by what year you graduate, right? So if you have 1,000 units, right, but you don't graduate until spring of 2022, then you're a junior. It doesn't matter how many units you have. So they define your class year by when you graduate, and that's also true if you are taking 5 years, right? So if you're a fourth year senior, but you're taking a fifth year, then it's more like you're a junior, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. So I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. And again, if you want to watch this presentation again, it will be available on our website in a few weeks. And all of our resources are there if you want to email us or contact our staff. We're happy to hear from you. So thanks again. Thank you all for being here, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I had a question.
Sure.
I'm not an international student. I thought that this was a different meeting.
Yep.
I remember yesterday you guys had a meet like this the scholarship program had a meeting based on public health and I think pre-med.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were referring to when you would have this up, the recording, would you think that presentation would be recorded or would be uploaded at a later time, like what you said, like this one will be last week or this, right?
Yeah. After, so our presentation, I think our last presentation is February 17th, and after that, soon after that, we're going to be posting all of them. We'll have had 8 different workshops this time around, and they're all going to be posted on our website. So you'll be able to find that there. Some of the same awards are on there. You'll also hear about the Truman Award and some other awards on that one.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. It'll be on our website, so you'll be able to find it. I believe that we'll have it. You'll be able to find it from the first page. I think we're going to have it information about it in what's called the carousel on the home page, where you see different images flash by. All right. All right. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great night.